because it's lazy, and you can do better, and you deserve better. And that's just the truth of it. This gentleman's name is Clank. Clank is a mullet. This is Madam Mim. Madam Mim is a mullet. We need to start these a little further over. And lastly, but not leastly, and perhaps most relevant to this conversation, this is the muzzard, and he is a mullet. These are all three mullets, and they are all accomplished using what I will go so far as to say very different means. Some are provided to the manufacturer in a way that I would deem to be proper. Vanquish has a new mullet coming out. It has been announced very recently as to the recording of this video, and they accomplished the mullet. For those unaware, a mullet is a straight axle in the front and a portal axle in the rear. Basically, this configuration is such that if you can get the front end over, if the front end will get over what you're trying to get over, the rear end is going to get over. It's going to improve breakover. It's going to reduce the tendency of the vehicle to do this. So far, aside from if you're brewing your own, the math required to figure out the gearing, not counting the wizard, but on these two, the gearing required so that you don't end up with 50% rear underdrive. The math is the only difficult part. Well, that and possibly procuring the parts that you need. Vanquish is semi-notable in being the first kit to offer a mullet configuration. That I'm aware of. If there's another one out there, I don't know about it. Clank does it very, very easily. And the way he does that is he uses what's called a reverse output gearbox. There's an output shaft there and an output shaft there. So when you look at his drive shafts from the bottom, they rotate in opposite directions. That one goes that way and that one goes that way. Because there's two gears in there, a ring and a pinion right in the middle. And there's 6 gears in that, a ring and pinion and 2 in each portal box. That portal box is going to reverse the rotation of the gear. So you need to address this by either putting a reverse gear in here or by using a gearbox that reverses the rotation. This is one of the correct ways to do it. This is also a 2-speed, which is wholly unnecessary on a mullet, but sometimes if you can, you do. This is an AR-44 front and an AR-45 rear, so we have a portal and a straight axle, and you know what it does? It absolutely works. By using a combination of overdrive gears in the portal box to reduce the amount of total underdrive, we're at about 20% net rear underdrive. It's fairly simple. It's fairly simple, and it still isn't even as simple as the wizard, because what they did in the wizard is, and I really have to have it apart so that you can see that it's a mullet. There is a portal axle in the rear, and there's a straight axle in the front. And the way they accomplished this is he just didn't put any, it was built without any underdrive or overdrive in the portal box. It's a 15-tooth gear driving a 15-tooth gear, so it's 1-to-1. You don't have to do any math. All you need to do is either de-portal the front or portal the rear and install a reverse cut gear, which means it rotates the opposite direction. So both of these drive shafts rotate the same direction. And the only thing different is in this one, the ring gear is on one side, and then on this one, the ring gear is on the same side. Usually they're on the opposite sides. That way, the rear is not reversed. So there's really, this is without question the least fiddly way to do it. We get our underdrive from and overdrive from the gears and the axles, and we're done, right? This is a kit that is a mullet. You can build it as a mullet. It is not a mandatory mullet. You can build it as a mullet if you'd like. And I need to point something out for you. here, which is, I want you to look at that driveline angle, because that driveline angle will be relevant. I want you to look at the place that the drive shaft is sitting. I want you to look at that drive shaft angle, and I want you to look at where that drive shaft is sitting, because again, that will be relevant. This gentleman's name is the Muzzard, because he is a Zoku ZRD that has been converted to mullet, and I wanted an all Vanquish mullet. I built this somewhere between 1.5 and 2 years ago. It's got a BTA kit, it's got a stubby with an outrunner. We're running a, this is all the way up. We're running a black jacket censored in a hyper ESC. So this is censored outrunner dedicated 4S with an AGFRC A53. Anyway, these are not important. At the time, I was unaware that inside the rear axle, and this is the rear axle right here, inside that F10P, you've got a little recess. And do you see how there's a big cut here and not a big cut over there? That is to accept the ring gear. And it exists inside the third member as well. There's a cut to accept the ring gear. A reverse gear is quite literally reversed. So as this axle sits on the vehicle, the ring gear is right here. We need it over here to put a reverse gear to make a mullet out of Vanquish parts. So how people do that, and how Vanquish did it, and the reason that I'm standing here right now, is instead of mounting this like this, they take it and they turn it upside down like that, and then they clearance this side so that it matches this side, and then they just run it with an upside down third member. In the terminology of the non-elites, we have a thing called a hack, which is you've got a solution to make something work that's clever and inexpensive. And at the other end of that, we have a thing called a bodge. And a bodge is use what you've got just to make it work. Durability, sustainability, and correctness be damned. We will do a lot of things to get home. If we're distant from somewhere, we do whatever we can to get home. That is not what, this is not what I would expect. This is not a hack. This is a bodge. This is the incorrect way to do this. And there are already, in betwixt the time when it was announced and all of the videos vomited forth onto this platform, there have already been what I regard as apologists. Oh, well, if you run it upside down like this, that's technically stronger because the pinion is now fed. It's, instead of high pinion, it's low pinion. This is how it should be, and this is how the mullet is. This is stronger because the ring gear is driving into the pinion gear. But that doesn't matter. An AR-44 gear is more than strong enough to move our 5, 6, 7, 8 pound vehicles around. I have a trail rig here that runs AR-44 gears, and it weighs 16 pounds. It weighs 16 pounds. It has well past 2 pounds of rotating mass. We are in the around 1,600 grams of wheel, tire, and insert. The AR-44 ring gear and pinion are not the problem. This is the problem, because I want you to see. This is where the shaft comes out, and this is where the link attaches. The mullet from Vanquish features, yes, you guessed it correctly, high clearance links in the back. Much like this vehicle has high clearance links in the back. See the little high clearance links back there? But look where my drive shaft is. Because, as I said, when I was building this, I had no idea that that axle was not flippable. AR-44s are flippable. Capras. Tenpros. Anything with a center pinion element. They're all flippable. I didn't know that this was not flippable. I didn't know that I could not fit a reverse gear to it without doing homebrew machining, and realistically, to run a reverse gear, you will have to modify the third member as well as that. Just get out your Dremels. Or you do what I did, which is a legitimate hack, and I will defend this hill. I took 2 pinion gears and I made a carrier. I made an intermediate bearing. And a pinion gear drives a pinion gear. You know what you can do? You can get pinion gears that are 5mm bore. Just slap it on there. The only thing that my hack lacks is I wasn't thinking clearly, and I absolutely could have used 2 different size pinion gears to custom tailor my underdrive and overdrive. But I didn't think about that in the moment. I just thought about getting the thing together and getting a mullet built with a VFD in the middle and Vanquish axles at either end, which is indeed what Vanquish did. But out of frame, all you get is hands. He's just an idiot in a shed. And that idiot in a shed took a piece of phenolic resin, drilled a hole in it, put 2 flanged bearings in it, slapped 2 pinions together. I believe I might have had to drill... No, that was an existing hole in the chassis. I didn't even have to drill a new hole. I made a mullet out of parts on hand, and my pinion gear, my pinion angle is great, and there's no chance at any point in the travel of the suspension that my rear drive shaft, look at my rear drive shaft. There's no chance that is getting absolutely stovepiped into every rock that it comes across like this one inevitably will. This configuration right here is indefensible as a person that stands on business. Here's the deal. If you want to do a little Dremel and just flip it upside down, you can do that. But what you have to do is you have to acknowledge that you're doing it in the easiest, dirtiest, bodgiest way. And when I say you, I mean you. I mean the person with the vehicle that is like saying, oh, I wonder if I can make this into a mullet. The odds are on yes, you probably can. And there are a number of ways to do it. And I make no apologies when I say this is not one of the ways. This is not correct. If you do it in your garage, workroom, basement, or wherever, it is marginally acceptable. It is a bodge, but it is a thing that you can do with what you have on hand. You won't have to change any parts or special pieces. You will have to tinker around with the underdrive, overdrive to get it to be exactly where you want. But if you are, let's say, a company that makes this type of thing, we have head-to-head. I would like you to use your imaginary mind's eye. We even have a stance body, so it will help you in the imagination. It's actually a boat. Looks just like a boat. Now that you've seen it, it's a Chris Craft boat. We have 2 head-to-head right here. I should have put his tire back on. We have 2 head-to-head. We have a mullet done absolutely, inarguably, properly. And remember, we're pretending that this is a VRD mullet from Vanquish as the kit. Ignore the bed. Use your mind's eye to erase the bed. So this is not my muzzard. This is a VRD mullet. And this is a wizard. This is done correctly. This is not. And you deserve better. You truly do. Do not, under any circumstances, be fooled into any sort of belief that the VRD mullet is anything other than a VRD that someone then took a Dremel and cleaned that out and turn this upside down. It's not acceptable. Like, as has been said in movies and memes, they can't keep getting away with this. There is no defense for hanging your drive shaft 20 millimeters below your rear links. Breakover is important. And pretending still that this is a VRD mullet and not my muzzard, which is done with a hack, but I would argue properly. Go find yourself a side view of that VRD mullet, and I want you to look at where the drive shaft goes compared to where this drive shaft goes. Because then I want you to keep a mental picture of this, which is done correctly, versus that VRD mullet, which is the lowest level of bodge, because it was not executed by someone with the tools they had on hand in their basement, garage, or workshop. It was done intentionally to be sold to people. And everybody that has a hand in it seems to be absolutely fine. I've manufactured and sold products. I did it for 25 years. I made every single thing I ever sold with these hands. And I had a thing. It may have simmered below the surface, but I had a thing called pride in my work. I would not sell something that I would not use myself. If I produced a part and I did not believe it to be up to my standard, I would not sell that part to a person. I would make it again. And why is that gone? I would not, under any circumstance, under any mentally prepared defense, run this on a vehicle. I'll run this all day. You know how many F10 axles I have in service in this fleet? I don't. 10 sets? More? I don't know. This is not how you do it. We should treat it as they would the American flag. If the American flag is flown upside down, that is a symbol of distress. If you see the Vanquish logo on your product being run upside down, just consider it a signal of distress. Don't buy the VRD mullet. If you want a mullet, you can build one. You are capable and you are better than that.